Yes, so in today's episode, we're going to have two super applicable case studies in the area of Agile account-based marketing, and specifically how to use Agile content to enhance and make your strategy in ABM much, much more effective. Okay, so true story. Right now we're going to start with this case study. It just happened to me. So Clear's a relatively new company, and even before it started, even before I had a podcast, I thought I want to make a podcast because podcasts are the thing. They're the most effective means of marketing and building authority. So what I did was I checked out somebody whom I haven't spoken to in about 15 years, so like almost no contact in the last 15 years, and I knew he was leading a successful company, so I contacted them on Facebook Messenger. It's a practical way of contacting people whom you haven't spoken to in 20 years. And so what I wrote to him was like, hey, long time no see. No talk. What's up? I see you're doing awesome things, and I'm about to launch a podcast, and I'd like you to be one of the first guests on the show. I want you to tell my audience like what you were doing, how you got so successful, and how you figured things out. Are you up for it? And of course he was up for it, because who doesn't want, if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to want to spread the news about your company. And you're going to want to do podcast interviews which make you look good. So immediately he agreed. And so we agreed to talk and meet about what's going to be on the podcast, what we're going to do. And at that time, keep in mind, I didn't even have a microphone. Like I have a microphone now, but I told him, I don't have a microphone yet. I don't even have a podcast yet, but I want you to be the first guest when I do get a microphone, okay? So we met and we talked about his company, like what they're doing. And so naturally he asked about me, what I'm up to, what I've been doing in the last 15 years. And so the conversation got pretty long, and I want to make the story short, but what happened was that even before we got to the podcast interview itself, even before we had bought a microphone, he asked me to come in and consult for his company. And just today we signed a deal which is going to hopefully grow to become somewhere in the six figures in terms of euros within the next 24 months. So it's going to be a long engagement, and we're both super excited. But the thing, what really got the conversation started and what ended up in a big deal, one of the first big deals of my company, Clear, was the idea of doing a podcast interview with somebody. Now, had I met him or had I called him and said, hey, I want to do marketing consulting for you. Do you want to talk about your marketing problems? I don't know what the result would have been, but it sure as hell wouldn't have gone this easy, because it was relatively easy. I mean, it was such a natural setting that we started talking about what he's up to, what his challenges are, and me, who's got a bit of experience in this area, and him, who didn't really do any marketing up to this point because he was successful without like almost any marketing. Naturally, I had ideas, which he liked. And so he asked me to come on and do some consulting, and now we're doing some fun agency work for him. So that was a huge lesson, a huge learning on the power of podcasting. So not podcasts in the sense of building authority, because of course podcasts do build authority, but using podcasts to start talking to prospects. Now, keep in mind, that wasn't my intention, but that's what it turned out to be. So now this is a strategy that we're doing with clients and that I'm going to be using in the future. So whenever you have a target account, one of the best ways to get in touch with them, especially even if there was no prior contact, so they're a completely cold account, is to contact them and say, hey, we'd love to have you on our podcast as a guest, because obviously you know what you're doing, you're successful, we want you to share this with your audience. And most of the people are going to agree to it. And when you do this, what happens is that you break all sorts of expectations on their behalf that this is a sales related engagement. Because when you reach out with any other topic saying, hey, I'm a consultant, I've got a product or whatever, and I'd like to talk about your X and Y problems with you and see if we can help. Even if they agree, they're going to have that resistance because they know it's at the end of the day, it's a sales conversation. So they're going to have that resistance. But with a podcast, at least for a good while, nobody is expecting it to turn into a sales conversation. And usually, just like in my case, you don't even have to be the one to initiate the sales conversation. Okay? And I've heard this from others as well, that they invited people on their show and They got some very natural and very productive conversations going, and they didn't have to sell one bit, like nothing, like not a sentence. The guest was the one, hey, you got like 10 minutes to talk about this thing because I'm really interested in that solution you said and how you guys do that. Would you mind walking me through that thing? And so it comes so naturally. It's such an authentic way to get deals and get highly qualified leads without doing any selling. Okay, so that's one thing. The second super awesome and encouraging case study, which is so easy to copy and so easy to do, but really no tech, such a small fraction of the tech companies and the B2B businesses are doing this, is the following. As I started doing podcast episodes like this one, what I did was I record myself on video as I'm doing the audio, and I throw up the video on the blog, and I create micro content out of it, which I share on LinkedIn. And the very first numero uno piece of content that I put out on LinkedIn, it took like a day or two to get just 100 views on LinkedIn. It was an organic post. I didn't advertise it or anything. And it had about 10 likes, so like 10 engagements, which you'll agree is not much. Okay, so like even if a 5-year-old puts up something on social media, they'll get higher engagement than me with that first 2-minute video that I put on LinkedIn. But what happened, that person number 10 who was liking that post actually reached out to me. I knew that person from somewhere else. We were not connections on LinkedIn, but for some reason my video showed up on his feed. And so he connected, tracked me down, and gave me a call and said, hey, this account-based marketing thing you were talking about in that video, I think we need that. Can we have a conversation? And I'm like, heck yeah. So that's how what turned into later basically a sales conversation, that's how it started. And so this micro content on social media, video-based micro content, is just super successful right now. And it's something that you definitely want to have as part of your account-based marketing or any B2B growth strategy. So personal videos. I'm not talking about video animations and all that stuff, because that works as well. But personal videos, like when you have somebody without makeup, without the Hollywood effects, without the special, lights and whatever, just somebody sitting in a room at home with the kids playing in the background, talking business. This type of content really works. It connects, it engages, and it doesn't matter if you are targeting Fortune 500, Fortune 3, Fortune whatever, or SMBs. It just works because it is human. It is human, and that's what account-based marketing is or should be about. Okay, now the second half of this play where you're publishing video content and people become interested and reach out to you, the way you can fine-tune that is the following, and it's really awesome. Okay, number one, what you embed on your blog with the video, you do it with either Vidyard or Wistia, because they have some pretty good statistics on who viewed the content and what percentage of the content was viewed. Okay, so if you create one of these video blog posts like the one I'm doing right now with the intention of getting a prospect and moving them down the pipeline, you can create some hyper-personalized and super relevant videos very easily and very fast that really come through and really engage your prospect. And if you litter your video full with examples that are relevant from their industry, it's going to come across as hyper-personalized and super relevant. You don't even have to mention the name of the company, but you could, I guess. So you create just a regular old post and you post it on your company website. And you send it out to the prospect saying something along the lines of, hey, Jane, we were just talking about this the other day, and we shot a video about it because we thought it's an interesting point you brought up, which would be their objection. So let's say you face an objection with the prospect, and so you talk about that objection for about 8 to 10 minutes on video, and you send the video out to Jane on your website. And so you track how Jane was viewing the video, what parts she viewed and what parts she didn't. Chances are that she's going to view a large portion of it because it's going to be super relevant, and the conversation is going to be really fresh in her mind because you're not doing this after 3 weeks, but you're doing it like the next day or in 2 days or in 3 days. So the conversation is still relevant. Jane is going to engage with the video. And then here's the next thing that you're going to do, which is super awesome. Chances are that she's not going to watch the entire video, or that you will want to re-emphasize specific points from the video in specific sections. So what you do is that you create micro content out of it. Let's say you put like a 3-minute section that Jane hasn't watched on LinkedIn. And what you do is you casually tag Jane saying, hey, this is something super relevant. I hope you guys can take something away from this part of the video. And then you tag Jane and you tag 2 or 3 other people. And that really, really drives the point home. And it's going to be super relevant and very authentic. And it's a very natural and highly effective way of doing this. Okay, now some other things regarding this. We were talking about an account-based marketing scenario. So how does this fit into the picture? Now, generally, when you're talking about content in ABM, what people usually do is that they think of content in an account-based marketing scenario as being something static that sits outside of the pipeline and the ABM processes. Now, what we recommend is that, and you can see an example of this on the blog post that is under this article, where you just have a regular pipeline, and at different stages of the pipeline, you will have different pieces of content. Like at the awareness level, you would have, let's say, a podcast interview, and then an ebook, and then a case study, and then when the prospect is at the purchase level, then you would want to feed them content that is about the specifications of the product or something that is highly relevant to making a purchase decision. Okay? Now that's how it's usually viewed. But the other way that account-based marketing traditionally uses content is that the sales team asks for the marketing team's help in sales enablement, so to say, where they create specific, highly personalized and highly relevant PDFs and pitch decks and whatnot for specific sales engagements. Okay, so like by definition, that is account-based marketing, where you are creating like account-specific marketing collateral for sales. And many companies are good at this. Some huge companies like SAP, they have like entire departments doing just this. So doing creating content at the request of sales for specific sales plays and sales scenarios at specific accounts. Okay, so they do that. Now, if you are a smaller company and you have less resources, and you want your marketing to be more effective and you want your content to perform better, what you can do is instead use these sorts of video posts, the one that you're watching right now, which have proven to be highly successful at this. And the reason it works is because text is a lot less engaging. No, let me phrase that positively. Video is a whole lot more engaging than text. So you can send colorful PDFs and you can send slideshows and whatnot that are highly personalized, but it's never going to be as engaging. It's never going to be as effective as somebody sitting in front of a camera, even if it's just the laptop's or the phone's camera, and discussing the debated or the topic that they objected in a totally relaxed and normal human setting. Okay? And again, these videos will be super relevant, very highly personalized, and very, very trackable. Because the problem with other types of content, and by the way, I'm not against written content, because written content is great and it still should be the backbone of a content strategy. By the way, many people debate that because, for example, 6 Sense, one of the pioneers in account-based marketing, they promote a video-first content strategy. And another pioneer in this area, another platform, Terminus, they are also super heavy on video. And I think both companies in their books testify that video has been like the driver, like the number one thing as far as content. And it's not surprising because here, look, I copied some statistics out for you from LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is obviously a major platform for us B2B folks in posting video. So here's one statistics. Video campaigns on LinkedIn have 50% view rates on average, which is awesome. Think about it. If you put out a 3-minute video, 1.5 minutes is going to be watched on average. And if you put out a better video, like even more would be watched. That corresponds to our statistics, by the way. For our average videos, we get like a 50% viewership. For something that is a little bit more creative, more engaging, we get up to 65% on average. Okay? Now, second statistics. Awesome. Videos on LinkedIn also earns an average of 3 times the engagement of test posts. Okay? So LinkedIn, with all their data, all their trillions of posts and videos, after having analyzed them, they conclude that videos have 3 times the engagement of regular text posts. If that doesn't sell videos to you, then I don't know what will. But there's more. Okay, here's the third one. Blogs that contain videos see an average of 157% more traffic than blogs that don't contain videos. Okay, and the fourth one, 80% of people will watch a video compared to 20% of people who read text on a page. Okay, in the blog post, I'm going to have a link to these statistics on LinkedIn, and just feel free to explore. But the point is that if you can create highly engaging, highly personalized videos as part of your ABM strategy with just a little more effort than you can create texts, or with the same amount of effort, then because video is so much more engaging, you will want to bet on videos. And the most successful ABM companies, as I've said, are betting their balls on video. All right. Now, one more thing that we wanted to discover is this agile aspect of content creation. Okay, because traditionally, in a traditional marketing setting, what you will have is that you'll have like a content plan, content calendar, like a month or 3 months or even a quarter out, and then you just execute that content calendar, which still works. I'm saying that you do need a content calendar, and it's good, but you should leave some room for agile content creation, which is basically going to be requests coming in from the sales team saying, hey, we just had this meeting today. There's a super hot topic, and I want you guys to do a video on this by tomorrow or the day after, because I want to send it out to that prospect because I really want to drive this point home. And so you're going to create the marketing video for them, like the 6-minute video. Sales can send it out. You can track it, and then you can repurpose it on LinkedIn, tag the prospect, and it's really, really going to drive the point home. Okay? And in this post below the video, we're going to have step-by-step instructions for you on how to do that. But it's really a super useful strategy. And companies tell me like doing videos and podcasts, that's like a freaking scary thing at first. And I don't blame them. It is, because it's just not the way that they are used to. And what I tell them is this: it seems scary and it seems impossible because it's not part of your DNA. It's just not the way you do things. But think about this. Before you started doing outbound marketing, and many companies who have like bet everything on inbound have started doing outbound marketing, and at first they were super scared. They're like, what? Prospecting? You want me to like reach out to people? You want me to do cold calls and cold emails? That's outrageous. And then as they started implementing outbound into their marketing strategies and their growth strategies, it's become second nature, and now they can't imagine business without doing outbound and without doing prospecting. It's the same thing with written articles. So companies freak out. How am I supposed to produce that much written content on a continuous basis? And the companies that have found a way to do that, like now it's part of their everyday business, it's part of their DNA, and they can't imagine life without creating content. And it's just the same with video and audio content. So yes, it's frightening at first because it's different than what you're used to, but because it's so effective, you're going to find it that you're really going to stick to it fast. Because in a traditional content setting, you're looking at like a 4 to 6 month return on investment, because that's how they say. This is a HubSpot statistics. They say like inbound marketing really starts to pay back in 4 to 6 months. So like for 4 to 6 months, or sometimes 8 months, all you're doing is producing content and you don't have measurable results. With agile content, it's just like that. So I told you it took like 5 hours, 100 views on my very first post, and I got a lead. I got a qualified lead. And it's if you're doing the podcast play, which by the way can work with webinars as well, so it doesn't matter if you invite your prospect to a podcast or a webinar, it's all the same. With that play, the next phone call may result in success. And I bet that within like 5 phone calls or 5 engagements, you're going to have at least 1, but probably 2 or 3 people who will say yes to a podcast interview, even if you don't have a podcast yet. Okay? So it's really encouraging, like what I've experienced firsthand, what I've seen other B2B companies in growth mode do. These examples are really encouraging. And the time to start is now, because as with everything in sales and marketing, these strategies, they have a lifespan. So once everybody starts doing them, they're not going to be as effective. And with podcasting and video, and especially Agile video, you're still very early, and this is the right time to get on board. Okay, so I really encourage you to test these strategies. Either find a way to do it in-house, or find a partner who is willing to do that. You can outsource it, but the important thing is that you start as soon as possible. All right, so thanks for sticking around. Check out clear.hu/podcast, and you're going to find this episode, you're going to find the stats, you're going to find the step-by-step processes. So if you're not on Clear, then head on over to clear.hu and check out all the information that's in the post. Okay, great to have you, and I'll see you later. Bye.